Alright, so we are on the play against Death and Taxes, and what is this? A main deck, rest in peace? No, not quite. A few of you were talking about how you wanted to see some sideboard options, and I realized that when you move the deck around, it stays that way for the next match, but regardless, even if we're fighting an uphill battle, this literally does absolutely nothing against Death and Taxes. We do have a Brainstorm, even though we do have a crappy card. I didn't know we were playing against Death and Taxes, but either way, we're going to keep this. I dislike this more than this, even though this does nothing, but against Wasteland, that's no fun. Either way, we're keeping this. And since we're on the play, I believe our opponent mulligans 6, yes. So let's play Polluted Delta. Don't like playing Tundra turn 1 and doing nothing because Wasteland. Okay, so the option here is we can Force of Will this, or we can let it go, or we can Brainstorm and see what we get, and then maybe Force of Will it. I think that would have been probably the best option. What I chose to do here was Force of Will this, Force Pitching Force. This will turn off all of my swords, and who knows if I even have swords in this game. I might have not, but either way, that was that scenario. Land would be nice. I didn't draw one, but let's play Tundra and let's play our Rest in Peace. I'm just kidding. If you really hate Mother of Runes, you played Rest in Peace right here, just to send a message. Probably confuse them really horribly too. Okay, cool. At least they cast Thalia, so they didn't Wasteland that. So in response, let's Brainstorm before it cost 1 extra. Unfortunately, they happen to play Thalia here. Ironically enough, the way it worked out, where if I didn't Force of Will the Mother of Runes, I could have Brainstormed in response to this, and then Force of Will this, and just played back to basics. Turn 3, even though I would have had a Tundra tapped, it probably would have affected them a lot more. So either way, what I want on top here is obviously... Oh, wait. Did I just Brainstorm? Yeah, those are the 3 cards. So a Rest in Peace and a Back to Basics can go on top. We're going to shuffle those away. It just happens so many times with non-basics. That's fine, though. Get Island here. We can't play... what's it called? Back to Basics, because it costs 4. If not, I totally would have, so let's play True-Name here. As opposed to playing Jitte, if I play Jitte first, then that means they can attack. So by doing that, we save 2 damage. That was a really good draw, by the way. Sure. I'm like, please give me a land. Please give me a land. Please give me a land. And they didn't even have any more. So you can imagine, I don't think I got a land. No. So here, I believe I just played Jitte. Yes, correct. Because I know they have a Wasteland, so if they Wastelanded me next turn, I wouldn't be able to play with Thalia, so I didn't want to play Brainstorm. If I played Brainstorm, I wouldn't be able to play anything else unless I got a Force of Will and I could force something, which I didn't want to do. So, sure. So now they're really going to be... Actually, this might be where they made a mistake. Let's see. Yeah, they didn't port me here. So now I just equip. If they had ported me, I probably would have Brainstormed in response to look for that. But now I just... That was a very big mistake. Actually, not the biggest. I guess if they wanted to bring in equipment, that's fine. What they get to SoFi? Yeah. I mean, that could have waited. I think them porting me is much more important than getting their SoFi out there. And they didn't even end up putting it in. So, I mean... Yeah, I guess they just ended up conceding. Maybe they realized they made a mistake. Either way, here what you want to do is you want to make sure that you don't, try and kill this when this is untapped. It looks like they were choked on mana, so I'd probably just let this attack for a little. See what they do in response. If they want to port me, I'd probably do this last just to make sure I can get value out of it and actually kill it once they tap it, or kill this first, depending on how many counters I had. Either way, the game didn't go out that way. Ended very quickly. I do have to say probably because of that and the fact of the matter that they were choked on mana. Them actually wastelanding me probably helped me more than them. Either way, let's move to the sideboard where I'll show you what I bring in and take out. Alright, so I actually created a new deck, so hopefully I don't start like another game with it. And so, first and foremost, what we bring in. I like Clique. It can take equipment with the Stoneforge activation. It's nice, blocks flyers, which is always nice. I don't like Containment Priest in this for the whole fact of the Other Vial. I have 2 Disenchants for that, Plus, this can turn Flicker Wisp into like just permanent exile. Plus, this doesn't really trade with any creatures if you think about it. Even if it does shut off Vial, like what's it called? Usually, if they have a Stoneforge, there's probably equipment in there. It certainly does not trade with Thalia. And maybe one thing it would trade for is like a Revoker. But aside from that, it doesn't trade with too many creatures, depending on the build, of course. But aside from that, I don't like it. Disenchant we're definitely bringing in. Rest in peace, great card. 2 Disenchant, so to speak. Spell Snare, definitely. You've seen the power of that previously. And of course, Path to Exile. So we have 5 cards coming in. Let's bring those in. Let's sort. And I'll bring... Well, first and foremost, I can do this. Sure. Playing against Wasteland, and I'm not playing Red Blast, so that immediately comes out. Spell Pierce I don't like. Although on the play, you could consider using one. I mean, they have Council's Judgment. Sometimes they have Cataclysm. You can sometimes clip a Ether Vial, whatever it's going to be. Then we have 2 cards. So the combination of 2 cards really depends on what you feel like doing. Usually it's going to be one of these, or one of each, or just 2 of each. So probably... It's tough to say. They have a lot of stuff to stop it, but this can be great long game. So I think I like doing a split when it comes to this. So it's usually just 1 Jace, 1 Narset. This can help me find removal. Removal is very helpful. I mean, I have 5 swords. I have 2 disenchants, some type of counterspell, maybe back to basics, Council's Judgment. So this can actually help you find a lot of cards you may need. Plus, sometimes it can soak up some damage, which isn't the worst. I love Force of Will. I keep 4 in against Death and Taxes. In terms of Force of Negation, probably wouldn't bring that in. I like the what's it called? The utility and force, being able to force anything. This can obviously get like Cataclysm, can also get Ether Vial, it can get Council's Judgment. But when it comes, those were the ones I just named with Force of Negation. But every now and then you want to actually counter a creature spell, because usually sometimes during the end game, like you counter that, they can't do anything, you win. I know that sounds like a very rare circumstance, but if you've seen me play against a lot of Death and Taxes decks, a lot of times where it's just like, all right, counter this and we're taking over. So that's very good to have as a safety blanket. Also, Gideon is another one, the ally of Zendikar. Sometimes they play that, but either way, that's pretty much the sideboarding. Like I said, if you were on the play, if you wanted to maybe bring in like a Spell Pierce and take something out, that is also possible. But for the most fact of the matter, this is going to be my sideboarding against Death and Taxes, whether it's on the play or the draw. So let's move to game number 2. All right, so we are going to be on the draw, and unfortunately, this is a very easy mulligan. I don't have Brainstorm, I don't have Ponder. I play a Polluted Delta, and then I pretty much have 2 turns to draw a land or a cantrip. It's possible, but I also have a Stoneforge and a Swords, and no way to get... Well, I mean, I could... If I want to get white, I have to get Tundra, which I don't want to do. So I threw this one back very quickly. Opponent kept 7. This is much better. So we got plenty of land, which is good. We can pretty much cast whatever we want. At this point, it's whatever I felt like getting rid of, which would have been one of these. I think it was Narset. Although there is some good use to keeping Narset, simply because it can be something to pitch to Force of Will. You don't want to pitch a True-Name to Force of Will. That card is awesome against them, so it might be a Council's Judgment I threw back. Okay, it was a Force of Will. That's also another option. So I pretty much just need a white mana, although if I had to, that could be a Tundra, so that was the reasoning for that. Ponder, I don't have a Spell Snare, I don't have a Spell Pierce, I didn't keep it in for this, so easy Ponder here. This was unfortunate. Actually, no, let me take that back. Must have been a different game. But what I want here is going to be pretty much how it is. It's not the best, it's not the worst, but the fact of the matter is that I get to use this Brainstorm to sculpt the rest of my hand, so I'm pretty sure it was Polluted Delta, Brainstorm, Arid Mesa. These 2 can be interchanged because they don't play discard. That way I'll have 2 blue and then 2 white. Yep. So next turn I'll have an Arid Mesa. I could fetch and then, cast Brainstorm. And this is definitely going to be putting a wrench in my plans. That's fine. Like, nothing I can do. Okay, there's that. Okay, get in there too. Okay, so here, I actually thought about brainstorming in response, but it wouldn't make a difference because I would have had to crack this, and then brainstorm cost 2, and then I can't Force of Will, so there's no point of really doing it when it's on the stack. Now, I'm not sure if I Brainstorm. I probably should have, since, you know, I need to make use of my mana. Either way, that's fine. There, I definitely would have Brainstormed because regardless, I can play Arid Mesa next turn, and then I can play True-Name. And I didn't play Arid Mesa there because, you know, I don't need a shuffle effect, and I want to save that for when I do need a shuffle effect. They also got a Batterskull. So at this point, the only thing that's going to suck for me is like a Council's Judgment. It's going to cost 4, which means they need another land and a Council's Judgment. So this will at least, you know, I can just block everything at the time. And they're tapping for 4, so you know what that means. I was like, well, the one card that would suck right now is a Council's Judgment. So I'm like, okay, they had it. No big deal. Sure. Not the greatest draw. So here I have a bunch of crap in my hand. So rather than ponder, I want to Brainstorm because I want to get rid of this. Like, I have my second planes here, and this I can kind of get rid of. Like I said, this and Jace are kind of the two cards that are like iffy, that, you know, I'll keep one in of each, but at this point it's not great. You know, maybe I'll use it and maybe they will, I don't know, swing at it. I mean, that was a possibility. I could have just played Arid Mesa and then played that. However, I would have rather gotten rid of it. So what I decided to do is I made sure I tapped both islands because I want to make sure I have a planes up, although I could have done either or. Okay, so this and probably Narset I got rid of. Okay, I got rid of, I don't remember what it was, but either way. This is really doing a lot of problems. It's fine, it happens. Like when Death and Taxes gets there, they didn't even have like a super rocket start. It's just I happen to have a lot of cantrips in my hand, and you know, Thalia was one Brainstorm at the end I should have added in. That's fine. They could have actually played it and attached that, but I guess they wanted to hold Caracas up. That's fine. Okay, so now we have an interesting decision. I mean, there's a lot of things we can do. Back to Basics is not going to be worth playing at the moment, obviously. You know, it's not going to do anything. And aside from that, we have a Council's Judgment that we can use. We can, we're not going to want to use it on this. Well, I mean, we could use it on this, but then they can, you know, bring it in, and then we could get rid of that. I don't think they would, but that would probably be a waste because all they need is one more mana, and then they can just play it naturally. So I think it was a Ponder here. Yeah. We know they have a Batterskull. So True-Name is going to definitely get me out of this. So as always, I believe I did Force in the bottom, then Delta, then True-Name, simply because having more land is going to be helpful in the face of Thalia. So once again, I'm pretty much back to like balancing out. Like I said, this has been, you know, making my life tough. That's the idea. They're bringing in their Batterskull as expected. Okay, and once again, despite the fact that they have this, I mean, they can, you know, attach this to something else so that, you know, this gets through, or, you know, it's really going to be dependent on how they want to play that. But once again, the only thing that's really going to hurt me here is a Council's Judgment. It's okay. I was thinking that too before it got cast. I'm like, well, they would just need, you know, that sideboard card they play two of and have both of them. They happen to have both of them, so that was the case there. Sure. And now I have a fetch land that I can't crack. They did that for some reason. They had something in their hand. They didn't feel like playing it, though. Anyway. So there's that. So right now I'm just going to CJ the Batterskull. They can't return it to their hand. I need to pay 4. Next turn I'm taking 3, so I can't even crack this. That's why I probably didn't even play it. It was like a free wasteland. Okay. Opponent did something interesting here. They had the, where's first strike damage? Where is it? Okay. So they did first strike damage with Thalia. And then pumped it. If they had double strike, I believe that would have worked. But yeah, that was that. I'm like, okay, well, now they know how that works. Either way, I'm not in a good spot. It's pretty much over here. We know I have a Force of Will. Can't play this, but either way, I'm just going to play my Ponder, see what I get. And unfortunately, like I said, simply being choked on mana slightly was the reason for this. I was just slightly behind. I do believe playing that Brainstorm before I played True-Name might have helped a lot, because I could have at least looked at cards and shuffled bad cards away. That little minor mistake might have lost me this specific game. It's hard to say, but it was definitely a spot where I should have cast Brainstorm. Either way, that was the end of that. There's nothing there. I can plow one of these, and then pretty much, they just attack with the other. Either way, let's move on to game number 3. All right, so here we are in the final and third game of Stoneblade versus Death and Taxes. I am not super thrilled about this hand. Once again, at least this time I have a 1-lander, but I have Ponder and I have Brainstorm, and for a turn 2 Spell Snare, hopefully they don't play a Vial where I can actually counter something. That would definitely buy me some more time. So I am on the play, and I hate mulliganing on the play. It just sucks so much. So I kept that. And I believe they kept 7-2. So, since I don't have, Spell Pierce, or I don't have, what else could I play? Like, since I didn't play a Plains, where I could sword something, I am free to Ponder here. Okay, now this was an actually tough one. Do you shuffle this and hope for, like, another land? Or, maybe to get at least a Plains out of it. However, what I ended up doing is going Swords, Ponder, Island. The reasoning for that is I can at least play a land next turn. I can Ponder, I can shuffle that all away, and then I'll still have Spell Snare up for turn 2, seeing we're on the play. So, exactly like that. We're going to keep that, then we're going to pass the turn. So, let's see. Yeah, that's completely fine. Because that means they're probably going to play something turn 2, and we have the response for that. So here what I want to do is play the Ponder first, because I don't want to play the Island, because in case I get a fetch land or a Plains, that means I can actually utilize this, or I can keep up Spell Snare. So I'm not playing a land here. They don't have days, obviously. Decks that do play days, you might want to consider that, but in this scenario... and once again, we're going to be shuffling this. We have a Swords. It's about to be useless unless we get a Plains. And then, of course, this stuff just costs too much. We need some land at this point. Okay, not the worst. We just need one more land for that. So we're going to play the Island and pass. And you guessed it. As expected. Yeah, Death and Taxes has a ton of 2-drops, and that was definitely one we want to capitalize on getting. That or either Stoneforge. In fact, in this scenario, I'm glad it was this one, because this is going to do... that would be a lot of problems. No chump attack. Okay, that's fine. Now, here... I definitely need land. I'm not in a great position, although I hate brainstorming here. Becoming brainstorm locked would really suck. However, getting a land, allows me to fetch away with Stoneforge. And, I have a lot of great cards in my hand. Should they play a Vial? Should they play something else? So I definitely went for a Brainstorm here. This is certainly not an optimal spot for it, but sometimes in games you're going to need to Brainstorm where you're not getting, obviously, the most value out of it. Luckily enough, I at least hit a land, which is awesome. That's going to allow me to play out Stoneforge. Now, this was a very difficult choice when it comes to what I'm throwing back. I believe, it could have gone anyway. I believe I got rid of 1 Swords, and I got rid of a Councils, because I had 2 of these. Mom is here. She's here for a little while, so she's here to stay. I actually probably could have gotten rid of both of these, but in the long run, usually you can get rid of her, whether it's with a CJ or a Jitte down the road, which I'm going to get. So I'm pretty sure this was throwing back Councils and Swords. Councils simply because I would need another Plains to play it. So yeah, Councils and probably another Swords. Perfect. So let's play this now. Now we can shuffle those away. And here, I'm definitely getting Jitte. Because killing that will open up my Swords. And this is, ironically enough, this is obviously just amazing card against Death and Taxes, but you don't always have to get it. Sometimes in the face of Thalia, you might want to just get a Batterskull, make them answer, or kill Stoneforge. Ironically enough, I do get Batterskull a ton against Death and Taxes. It really depends on the cards that you have, what's going on. And I thought this was interesting. So this is what they were playing in the sideboard. However, it's not really doing all that much. You know, like I can't use swords right now. So I was really happy to see this. What could have sucked was like another Thalia, maybe Squadron Hawk if they were playing it. Or maybe, you know, like a Revoker, which wouldn't have been the worst. But still, I was very happy to see that, in fact. So it was a good thing I brainstormed earlier, you know, and just ended up working out well there. Perfect draw. Okay, so now what I want to do is pretty much nothing except play my island. So when I do this, at the end of the turn, I can counterspell something. If they play something horrible, I can counterspell it. Then at the end, I can bring in Jitte, or I can disenchant, and so on and so forth. I don't want to click yet. This will probably come up, but now is not a good time because I want to hold up my mana for this, and this. Nice wasteland, says the person with no non-basics. Now, this was another one. This card can be very scary. I do have a click in my hand, and you know, I was trying to think of the lines when it comes to like, well, I have disenchant, but I probably will want to get rid of Chalice of the Void, so I can open up my swords. You know, I have 4 more in my deck. Well, I have 3 more swords and 1 more Path to Exile, so I did actually counterspell this. I do like counterspell against Death and Taxes, yes, especially on the play. It's awesome on the play. And here I believe I just brought in the Jitte. This still isn't doing anything. It's not a big deal to me, so. Okay, so I can't equip this, and they can attack, but it would just block and protection from white. And pretty much what I would have to do is, in the process, disenchant, kill that, play this, fetch Tundra, then they can wasteland it. So I didn't want to do that. So in this scenario, what I decided to do is just nothing. And I set a, stop on my opponent's turn for the draw. Here I'm going to click because I'll still have disenchant mana up, which is nice, so I can do both of those. And I wanted to see what they had. This will give me a lot of information so I can make an accurate, you know, assessment. Do I want to disenchant this? Do they have something else? You know, that's the aspect I love about Click, is being able to see their hand. Don't want to click myself. Okay, so let's open up Notepad for a sec. So they have CJ, Flicker, Revoker, and Port. So considering that, this can just pretty much stone cold stop the Jitte, which I don't like. Flicker Wisp is, you know, it's going to be a flyer. I have a flyer too, and that's not a big deal. And CJ, if they want to use that to get rid of my Jitte, that's fine. That's going to take up a full turn, you know, plus I wasn't scared of that. It's not like I have a True-Name in my hand, so I actually got rid of the Revoker simply because that would mean I would have to kill that and then try and get around that and then kill that. This was just going to be the most annoying, so I actually got rid of the Revoker here. So let me remove this. That was the reasoning for that. Although I did have a disenchant. I'm pretty much saving a disenchant for this, and then I can, you know, plow mom, which is everyone's favorite Magic term. Okay, so now they have these 3 and an unknown. Okay, so they played their Port. Now they have Flicker, Councils, and an unknown. Sure. And while that was happening, I just decided to fetch, and here I was going to do the disenchant on the Chalice. I was really glad to see that card at the specific time, because more creatures at that time wouldn't have been very great. Anyway, so they're going to port me. Now, there was a line where I actually could have used that plow, but I'll talk about that in a sec. Here I was getting a good idea for what they were doing. Now, remember, in their hand, they have Council's Judgment, and they played Flicker. So they have CJ and an unknown. So equipping and attacking isn't going to do anything here. They can just, if I play on this, you know, they'll block, give it protection from blue, play it here, protection, and nothing's going through. Plus, it's going to die, whatever creature attacks. So, plus, if I play out True-Name, remember, they are going to, this is the #1 target for, or True-Name is the #1 target for Council's Judgment. So I didn't want to play that out. That would have been stupid. If I can get to the point where I have them make some interesting decisions and make the wrong ones, which I'm pretty sure I can make them do, I don't know about it being wrong, but difficult, then I can get them to bite on using CJ on Jitte, and then this is going to pretty much be difficult for them to answer unless they have another Councils. Okay, that's fine. So they probably drew crap. I don't, unless that was already in their hand. So we know once again they have CJ and they have nothing. So now that I realize they're going to do the same old song and dance, and if they port me twice, I'll still have 3 mana open in case or 2 mana open. So what I decided to do here is actually plow the Mother of Runes. So I was thinking about it to myself, what's the worst that can happen? So if I go to plow this, they can give Mother of Runes protection from white. And then what can happen, I can attack with this and equip it, and they have to block it. And then I would get counters, and then I can kill her, and that would be a great trade. They can give this protection from white or blue, but whatever they give it the color of, I can equip Jitte to the opposite creature and attack, and then remove them and get counters. So I like this. The only thing I pretty much kind of fails to is if they have a Swords. I was planning on them not having it, so that was the line I took there. They ended up giving this the Flicker Wisp, which is good. That made pretty much my Swords, an actual 1-for-1. So they made that protection from white, which is smart. Because if they did protection from blue, that means I can attack with this, equip that, and then this would stand. This is the more powerful creature, so by doing protection from white, that makes me lose the better creature when I attack with it. Yeah. See what I mean, I think? I'm sure you know what I mean. Anyway. So now, let's see what we draw. That's not the worst in the world. I know they have a CJ. That was kind of like, why'd I get this now? Because I know they have the Council's Judgment, and I'd have to make the choice eventually. Do I want to pitch this to get rid of a CJ? And the answer is probably going to be no. Either way, we're not equipping this since this has protection from white. So let's put Jitte on click. Let's attack. Easy block. Sure. So they played a land. So once again, they pretty much have crap in their hand. They're probably porting me twice. Sure. Let's equip. Not playing that yet. I will probably end the turn. And here, either I attacked or I pumped. It was either here or next turn. Because I know they have a Council's Judgment in their hand. Yes, so this was the first time I attacked with it. I just added 1 in case they wanted to play a creature. I could kill it. So by just pinging it once or, adding 1 counter, this still leaves 3 on here. So in case they play what's that? Flyer that's 2/3. Either way, this could handle pretty much the majority of their creatures. That's why I only pumped it once. Plus, they realized that I'm starting to get aggressive. The counters are moving up. This is going to probably want to make them play Council's Judgment. And once again, they get more land. Seems like they're flooding out. Yep. So here I'm gaining life. Not the worst in the world. See, by adding +2/+2, I was getting more aggro, and I believe, they could have just sat there if I, started adding up counters, but they probably thought I was in the beatdown now, so I think that added a little bit more, urgency to them using it. And then, of course, they had a Thalia, and now they're Hellbent, which is awesome, because I'm not, and I have a nice little haymaker for them. Sure. See one, play one. And the cool thing is now I have an answer to anything they play, which is Council's Judgment is awesome in that way. And now they're just playing out their lands. That's, in my opinion, not a great. There's no reason to do that. And, yep. I don't think they need that extra 2 mana. Here, I don't want to play this simply because I can pitch it to Force, maybe a Cataclysm. Even if they played Cataclysm, that'd probably be good for me. I don't know, in case they have something weird like a Gideon Alley of Zendikar. So let's just attack with True-Name. And once again, they're playing out their lands. And now they're not even porting me. They're probably getting a little frustrated that True-Name is, doing its thing. And they had seen enough. And pretty much at that point, I could have hard casted Force of Will, which I would have done if there was anything threatening. I'm not sure if they could have too much at that moment. And then, obviously, I have my Council's Judgment, which can pretty much remove anything I want. Either way, that was a good game against Death and Taxes. Game 2 was interesting. The Thalia just taxed me so much, it made it hard to pretty much utilize my hand. That can happen sometimes. That's what Death and Taxes does. But either way, once you can stabilize your mana, you have some nice counterspells. The counterspells worked out very well in that game. Spell Snare got a Thalia on their turn 2. Counterspell countered the Sword of Fire and Ice, which could have done a lot of damage. That card is tough to deal with. And aside from that, there wasn't pretty much. I used 1 Swords, I want to say, on the Mother of Runes. And Vendilion Clique was very helpful. I feel like getting rid of that Phyrexian Revoker. If that was in play, I only had 1 Disenchant, and then my Swords would have been turned off. So either way, I kind of like the way I played that. Game 2, I probably should have fired off that Brainstorm. End of turn 2, I want to say. But either way, I hope you learned something new. That was Stoneblade against Death and Taxes. Another one for the good guys. I think I'm like 12-2 against them. Really love playing against them. They got some great cards either way. Hope you enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you soon.